started. To Majespecter deck profile.
Okay, right. So we have 3 raccoon. We've got 3 crow. 3 of the newest one, Yamarashi. 3 Majesty Pegasus. 1 QB and 1 Ogama. The thing with Pendulum is you kind of have to play as many names as you can that are different scales, because if it can wind up getting in the way if you don't actually, if you haven't got the correct cards to actually be able to do anything, you just wind up blanking completely, and like it's even worse than like other decks, which is just a byproduct of how Pendulum has. I don't want to use the word evolved, but yeah, evolved. For the non-Majespecter part, we've got one. We've got 1 Dynamite and 1 Luster Pendulum. These are accessible through Majesty Pegasus because she's both a Majespecter and a Draco Slayer. She's able to get you into these 2, and then these 2 enable you to. They give you more combo lines that I'm going to be showing you in a little bit. It's definitely important that you do play at least 1 each of these. The only one you don't play is Ignis Phoenix, because in this variant he doesn't really fulfill the same purposes that he would in pure Draco Slayer. So that's it for the engine. For your non-engine cards, there's lots of different ways you can play it. Honestly, like you have got a fair bit of room outside of playing as many Majespecter names as you feel comfortable with. So I've gone for a more board breaker focus because I just feel that's better at the minute, and like I don't enjoy using hand traps anyway, so I'm like, even if it is statistically worse or whatever, I'm still going to wind up playing it the way I prefer. And I like a board breaker sort of way. So double of the man, because the man. 2 Bestials, the best ones, obviously. Like, you have actually like. I enjoy playing Magnum like even more when you've actually got other dragons to add, which you do because Luster Pendulum is a dragon. So if you don't need Druisworm for whatever reason, you can add this instead, which can because it's a pendulum monster, it gives you access to extra deck monsters that Druis and Magnum wouldn't normally be able to get you to. And I know I just said that I don't like hand traps, but bear with. Okay, we are playing 1 Droll and 1 Nib. The reason I'm only playing 1 of each is because there's a pretty accessible combo where you can search both in the same time. And if you draw 1 of them, then it's at the very least you've drawn it. You're not going to draw another one because dead drawing a hand trap in any deck obviously feels awful, but in a deck like this that needs every single card to be really relevant to like going second, you're just dead. It like decks now will put up so many interrupts or whatever, and like be able to play so much on your turn that if you draw Nibiru when your turn has started, you might as well have not picked up a card. It's that ineffective. Right, so that's it for the monsters. For your spells, there's a couple of engine pieces, and then mostly the rest is non-engine. So we played double Majespecter Wind. I'm only on 2. I see a fair few other lists on 3. Obviously play 3 if you feel that's preferable to you, but like because this card is very searchable, like really easily, and like it is bad in multiples because it doesn't do anything on its own. You'd hope that you'd always see a Majespecter, but sometimes you just don't. And like drawing too many of it can like wind up bricking you. Yamarashi and Crow are both able to recur and search it. So I haven't had a problem with 2 since I've adjusted the ratio. We've got a couple of field spells. Majespecter. I hope you got one of these before people realise that it's a good card, because it cost about £2 before, now it costs more than that.
Struggled to get yours, didn't you?
Yeah, I did have to speak to a couple of different people to be able to get it, but I fortunately managed to get one for a more reasonable price than I currently see them at. And we also play Fun Village of the Spellcasters. Basically every monster in this deck is a spellcaster. And you have access to every field spell. That's not an exaggeration, you have access to every field spell because of Majespecter. She searches a field spell if she's pendulum summoned, or if she's summoned by the effect of a Draco Slayer card, and then you discard 1 card afterwards. So if there's any other field spells that you can think of that you might want to play instead of one of these, obviously feel free, because literally every field spell that's ever been printed, or will ever be printed, is accessible to you just by special summoning Majespecter. Right, next up, Call by the Grave. Call by here, considering we're in a hand trap heavy format, it's either hand trap or big board breaker packages, and this is a board breaker into Snake White as well, because getting the princess out the grave, getting something that Flamberge is trying to revive, anything like that will it catches you up a lot for to keep up with the obscene free advantage that deck gets. Banishing things like Albaz as well against Branded, Low against Voiceless Voice. Yeah. Graveyard banishment at the minute is at a premium, so I would not cut Call Boy for anything, to be honest with you. Perhaps side it, but it should be in your list somewhere. Triple pot. You I'm pretty sure this card speaks for itself in a deck like this. You've got the extra deck space to dig always at least 3. When you feel the matchup, when you feel out the matchup, you can decide which card you don't need, and then you can dig for 6. But it especially helps in games 2 or 3 when you try and dig for your side deck cards, because we're playing some really enjoyable and very interactive cards in the side deck, which this card,
Will dig out.
Yeah, which this card will help you fish for. I can't believe it's still at 3, to be completely honest with you.
Can't believe Cold Boy's still at 1. Should spell.
Speaking of cards that are at 3 and probably shouldn't be, last bit of non-engine is Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent. Again, I'm pretty sure it speaks for itself. There's so many monster effects that go off because you tried to play a card and your Snake Eye opponent resolved 6 effects. All 3 effects are obscenely powerful. This card can and will steal you a game. If you've ever used it before, you know agree.
Would you play Thrust if you owned them?
It might be a case of maybe I'd drop one of these for a Thrust instead. I wouldn't play multiple Thrusts because you don't exactly have in here many normal spells. You've only got Pot and Talents. So I figure 2 Talents and 1 Thrust. If you wanted to make that adjustment, I could completely understand it. Because you could also change your side deck for some different things. So, because I am playing a normal trap in here that's pretty funny to get off Thrust, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Right, so now there's the 2 Majespecter traps, Tornado and Tempest. Both of these require the tribute of a wind spellcaster. This one targets a monster and banishes it. This one is word for word Solemn Strike, except it tributes a wind spellcaster rather than paying 1,500 life points. Your monsters can search it, both Ogama and QB. We only play one of each because these get the traps, which historically trap cards aren't as are nowhere near as efficient for whatever reason. Like, but yeah, you play these two to search the two targets, and you play one of each so you don't wind up bricking. Right. Okay, there is incoming some proxies after this last card, but I'll explain what the cards are so you're not left googling. Okay, right. So last one, 3 evenly matched. Fun. So yeah, because you could also grab this off a thrust. That is also a consideration, but I am somewhat divided on this card because a lot of the decks can play around it one way or the other, and like you need something else to either force it out or it just straight doesn't work. Like I mentioned branded earlier. If they gimmick puppet lock you, this doesn't do anything because you've got a card on your field now. But in the games that it does resolve, it's generally pretty strong, and like all your monsters are quite small anyway, so your battle phase isn't as valuable as it would be to I don't know, Snake Eye, because that deck puts a lot of big monsters out very quickly. Yeah. It's also very easy. It is a very easy side out as well because you don't need the card, but if you can play it and it.
Would you ever consider playing Darkcrawler? As you mentioned, the small bodies, so you don't rely on the damage output.
Yes, that is in the side deck. So if you wanted to swap Darkcrawler and evenly matched around and side evenly instead, again, completely feasible. I understand that. Right, so proxies. One set of cards I have, but Royal Mail is Royal Mail, so they haven't turned up yet. And the other side I just don't. The other side I just don't own. But I've been testing with it, and I do genuinely quite enjoy it. So I would recommend you give it a go. Okay, so the first one is 3 Parallel Exceed. You link summon a lot. The main Majespecter link monster. Anyway, he only prevents you from summoning. He only locks you into Majespecter and Draco Slayers from the extra deck, not from the main deck, so you can still use Parallel Exceed. And there's a link one that we play as well that gives you easy access to SP if you've drawn this or any other Majespecter you can summon to because being able to summon SP quickly lets you deal with things like anti-spell before you've pendulum summoned, because anti-spell obviously is not a particularly enjoyable card to play against. Considering it floodgates your entire deck, you can't set pendulums obviously because then you're setting monsters and we're not playing any further things. Right, then the last card. Now I will actually have to explain this because I can't imagine anyone even remembers this card exists, but it is 3 Link into the Vrains. Right. So what the card does, you activate it, and you special summon a monster from your hand, but its effect's negated. Then immediately after you've summoned that monster, you perform a link summon using any number of monsters you control, including the one that you special summon. That link summon cannot be negated, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when that monster is link summoned. So any on-summon effect that occurs, they are not allowed to respond to. Which, when I show you the extra deck in a second, you'll see why that. I mean, if you've ever played against Branded Lost, you understand why that's. You should understand why that's good. It is effectively a link version of Branded Lost. And when into the Vrains is in the graveyard. If one of your monsters is if one of your link monsters is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can trigger it yourself. You can banish into the Vrains from the grave, then add a monster from your graveyard to your hand that's the same original type as one of those link monsters that were destroyed. So if your spellcaster link is destroyed, for instance, you can add one of your. If any of your Majespecters are in the grave, you can grab it back because they're all the same type. You can also do it for extra deck monsters as well. Speaking of extra deck monsters,
surprisingly, I've not had
right?
Major pushback.
Okay, so I play 15 like different extra deck monsters. There's no duplicates in here. Some of them, again, I'd understand if you had duplicates of them because Cash Terror is running around, so Unicorn could snipe your things. Prosp as well, but I've chosen to go for variety at this particular instance. Right. So the main reason you play the Draco Slayer engine, well, the sort of secondary reason is because this card is absurd. Okay, so neither of its effects are hard once per turn, and you use Luster Pendulum because it's a tuner monster. And basically all your monsters are level 4. You can summon this. This card like snaps boards in half. You can use both effects in the same turn. He summons a Draco Slayer from your deck in defense, but you can't use it for a synchro summon. And he can target one pendulum monster or pendulum card in either pen zone. So like if you're in a pendulum mirror, this card becomes even better because it can target their cards. And then it destroys that pendulum card. If that happens, you non-targeting shuffle one card into the deck. And if you find any way to like recur this card, you can use both effects again. The other two Draco Slayers are Majespecter Paladin and Dinoster. Right, so you play one of each. Each of them, if you use their secondary effect, locks you out of the summoning type that they are. So locks you out of fusions, locks you out of using the monster in a fusion, exceeds synchro. Just having more Draco Slayer names is better from your extra deck because you need to you want all the options because one of the main elite monsters that you'll make locks you into Majespecters and Draco Slayers. Right, then the link one I mentioned earlier is Artemis. So it's just one level 4 or lower spellcaster, and it lets you get into SP with you get into an SP with as least hassle as possible by using an extra deck monster. Right, next up, New A. So this card is basically the reason that you play Into the Brains. A couple of the others will also, like SP, again for example, an unreactable SP is pretty good, but not being able to respond to this, right, on its link summon, you can put any two Majespecters from your deck into your extra deck and add any two from your extra deck back to your hand. So it sets up your pendulum scales. It sets up your pendulum summon as well on its own. So like the raw advantage you get off this card is actually insane. But like actually getting it to resolve is quite difficult. Because they'll pick it up, read it, and like, yeah, I'm negating that with like basically anything. But linked into the brains stops them from doing that. So yeah, it's incredibly beneficial. Pretty much every time you resolve this, you're either in a winning position or you just straight will win the game. Beyond the pendulum, it's pendulum deck. Akashic Magician. This is part of a combo that I'm going to show you in a few minutes. SP, as I've already mentioned, Exceed the Pendulum, Celine. You don't need to play this. Like this could be Appaloosa or something else. But it can help in like grindier scenarios to like further recur your Majespecters. Access code to actually summon something with some attack points.
Best rarity.
Ryu, the other new extra deck card they got. Very, very strong. And again, you'll see why in a moment. Right, so I mentioned earlier that you can search Nib. The combo ends on 2 level 4s and it doesn't lock you into anything, so you can just make Gallant Granny, which adds Nibiru. And then Plan C and Plan D.
How many cards in the main deck?
43. Right, I'll show you the side deck and then I'll show you how the combo goes. Right, side deck, Nothing particularly surprising here, I don't think. Right. Triple Crow, like I said, Graveyard Banishment is just key at the minute, and the fact that you can use this during either player's turn whenever you want is just really, really, really good. He's pretty much the only hand trap that I'm like
Worried.
Yeah, I guess like happy to see like if I draw it, because he does actually do something. For back row removal, I'm going with Cosmic. Honestly, like you can play. You could play most others like Twin Twister. I feel like depending on the deck, is pretty good right now at the minute. I don't even think MST is that bad. Like
it's Runic Stun though,
Yeah.
because to protect the field spell, and then what you're gonna do, you've just went neg 1.
Yeah, if you like against Runic specifically, yes, like MST and Twin Twister are like not good.
Against Fire King as well, because of Sanctuary Protect.
It's weird, like you don't care about that as much. I do get what you're saying. Like for other decks, it might not be as relevant, but like if like the life point cost is winding up like costing you games, and for whatever reason you can't just play faster, consider MST like, because it does like 80% of the work of this, but doesn't cost any life points. Right, as Ryan asked about Dark Ruler, there it is. So yeah, basically for what he said, what we were talking about earlier, because the battle phase isn't super relevant really, because all your monsters are quite small, unless you're going into your extra deck, and if you're going into your extra deck, you're playing the game. So this just makes playing the game a lot easier. And like, if you clear the field up and you're able to put up a decent board of your own, your back row and like recursion off all your different Majespecter monsters will usually get you there, unless like the cards they've got left are like absolutely premium. We'll play another field spell, Necrovelli.
Funny field gate.
Real. Very fun. Yeah, you're a pendulum deck. You basically don't care about this at all. Like you can have your graveyard locked off all day, and it stops some cards in your extra deck. That's about it. But it's very funny, like that this card, if you activate it, it is almost like a Dark Ruler against Snake Eye in and of itself, because it stops things like Princess reviving, it stops Flambird from summoning cards. So like just your first action, like being activate this, immediately requires them to like get rid of it immediately, otherwise they just die. So if you can force out the IP or the negate or whatever they've put on their board before you drop this down, you can turn the situation on its head very quickly. And then for the last 5 cards, I'm not even going to bother trying to hype them up, to be honest, because it's enjoyable. Fun limit, rivalry, and Gozer. Because, well, I mean, if you'd been looking at all, then you'd have seen that pretty much every single monster we play is a wind spellcaster. So these will obviously, you can make more than enough of a board under one or both of these to the point where almost any other deck can't play. Because like you'd think it wouldn't hurt fire, but like depending on what their board is and when you activate them, it can like lock them and make it very awkward. Like they'll make Link Kuriboh a lot. If you flip one of these under that, all their fire monsters all of a sudden don't do anything because they're locked into Dark Cyberse monsters, for example. Same thing with Summon Limit. Because Summon Limit is summons, not monsters, you can still full Pendulum summon under it, which other decks, unless it's a Pendulum deck, can't do that. So that is an advantage that you have. And yeah, like because it's an advantage generating control deck, you function a lot better under cards like this than anyone else would. It's a similar reason as to why they've like historically been quite good in Labyrinth, because Labyrinth will outgrind you when you
can't play.
Yeah, Exactly. Yeah. Right. Do you want the combo as well?
Do you want to eat?
No, I can.
Chop chop.
I mean, you can pause it and then I'll do it afterwards.